The grand hall of the Velfarn Empire was filled with towering alien nobles. Their tall bodies glowed faintly under the blue lights. At the center, sitting high above all, was Queen Askara, the ruler feared by thousands of worlds. She was massive, nearly 8 feet tall. Her skin was dark silver, smooth like steel, and her long black hair flowed behind her like a cape. Her eyes were cold, glowing with power and pride. No one ever dared joke in her presence. No one ever dared speak unless she asked them to, but today, a human did. Captain Jace Morgan, a simple Earth soldier, stood before the Queen. His body was average by human standards, barely reaching her waist. Yet he stood tall, his chin up. His green eyes steady. The alien crowd around him laughed just by looking at him. A human small, weak and soft, had been chosen to speak in a court full of warriors and warlords. The joke was already playing itself. Queen Askara raised one eyebrow. "Speak, human," she said in a deep, echoing voice. "Why do you come before me?" Jace cleared his throat and smiled. "I heard you're looking for strong breeding partners. Thought I'd apply." The hall fell silent. Then Dash exploded. Laughter rolled like thunder through the chamber. Aliens slapped their knees, some fell to the floor. The nobles of the Queen's court clutched their chests in disbelief. Even the guards by the wall chuckled behind their spears. Askara stared at the human, her mouth open slightly. Then she threw back her head and laughed louder than all of them. Her voice shook the air. "You?" she said, eyes wide. "You think you can breed with me? Do you even reach my shoulder, little creature?" Jace grinned. "Barely, but I'm a good climber." The hall roared again, but Askara's eyes narrowed. There was something strange in this human. He didn't shake. He didn't stutter. He didn't care that everyone laughed at him. That confidence, that boldness, it reminded her of something lost long ago. "You amuse me, human," she said. "At last, but amusement is not strength. Why should I waste my time on you?" Jace stepped forward, hands behind his back. "Because all your warriors fear you, but I don't. Because I see the woman behind the crown, and because, maybe, our child would be a god." Gasps echoed across the hall. A human dared to speak of giving her a child? Queen Askara stood from her throne. The room fell deadly silent. She walked toward the human, each step echoing like thunder. She stopped in front of him, towering, dangerous, beautiful. She looked down at him. "You speak boldly for one so fragile. And you hide your loneliness behind armor," he replied calmly. For a moment, nothing moved. No one breathed. Then Askara raised one hand and the guards tensed. "Let's play a game, human," she said slowly. "Survive 7 days on my homeworld Velkar 7. If you're still alive by the end, perhaps I will test your bold claim." Jace smiled. "7 days? I'll send you flowers on day 8. The Queen turned away. "Take him to the launch pod," she ordered. "Let's see what happens when courage meets a death world." As the guards led Jace out, the alien nobles whispered, "He's doomed. No human survives Velkar 7. She just wants to watch him suffer." But Askara said nothing more. She returned to her throne, resting her chin on her fist. Eyes narrowed. No human had ever spoken to her like that, and she wasn't sure if she wanted him dead or wanted to hear him speak again. Far above the palace, the skies cracked open as Jace's pod launched toward Velkar 7, toward death or destiny. The sky screamed as the pod tore through the atmosphere of Velkar-7. Inside the metal coffin, Captain Jace Morgan held onto the straps across his chest. The heat shields glowed red. The pod shook violently. Outside the window, he saw black clouds rolling across a blood-orange sky. Strange lightning twisted in the air like living snakes. The planet looked like it wanted to kill him before he even landed. Then boom. The pod smashed into the ground, metal groaning and sparks flying. The impact tossed Jace forward, but he stayed. Conscious, smoke hissed out. The hatch blew open. Silence followed. Thick, heavy silence. Then came the sound click-click. Thud. Sniff. Thud. Jace stepped out onto the cracked purple ground. His boots crunched over dry bones scattered in the dust. The air smelled of metal and rot. Above him, 2 suns hung low and angry. Strange black birds circled in the sky. With 6 wings each, Jace pulled out his blade and blaster. Day 1, he muttered. Let's make this interesting. High above, Queen Askara sat in her dark chamber, watching him through a hovering screen. Alone. Around her, a circle of alien nobles laughed. He won't survive the night. The razor beasts will eat him before sundown. This is better than theater. Askara said nothing. She leaned forward, her sharp eyes watching the screen closely. Let's see, little human, she whispered. Show me something no other male has. Back on the surface, Jace moved through the wild jungle of Velkar 7. Trees had glowing red leaves and pulsing bark that looked like muscle. Every sound in the forest felt like a threat. Suddenly, a rustle. Then a low growl. Jace turned, raising his weapon. Out of the bushes leapt a creature. 8 legs, black armor-like skin, a mouth full of dripping yellow fangs. A Velkar Reaper. Jace fired. Once. Twice. The blaster only made it angrier. The beast tackled him. They rolled in the dirt. The thing snarling, claws slashing. Jace grabbed a sharp bone from the ground and drove it into the creature's eye. It shrieked. Blood splashed. The beast fell. Twitching. Jac gasped for breath, lying under its heavy body. I thought this was a survival test, not a suicide mission. He groaned. In a hidden outpost nearby, 2 alien scouts watched the battle through drones. He killed a Reaper, alone. He's not like the others. They sent a report to the Queen's palace. Back in the palace, the Queen stared at the image of Jace, covered in blood, but still standing, her lips parted, just slightly. That night, Jace found an old cave and set up a small camp. The temperature dropped fast. Winds howled through the rocks. He gathered glowing blue moss for warmth, created a small fire, and treated his wounds. A pair of glowing eyes watched him from the cave entrance. He pointed his blaster. Come closer, or run. Your choice. A small alien creature stepped out, weak, thin, shaking with cold. It was a baby Skyclaw, abandoned and starving. You're not a threat. The creature collapsed. He picked it up, wrapped it in cloth, and set it near the fire. You try to kill me, I'll cook you. Otherwise stay warm, little guy. In the palace, Queen Askara was still watching. Saved a Skyclaw? One noble said in disbelief. Why? Askara's voice was calm. Because he's human. She stood, turned off the screen, and walked away, leaving the court in silence. Morning came. Jace stepped out of the cave with the small alien on his shoulder. It chirped softly. He looked up at the angry suns and smiled. Day 2, still breathing. Somewhere deep in the forest, more creatures stirred. Deadlier ones, but Jace was ready. He wasn't here just to survive. He was here to prove that humans were more than the galaxy believed. The Skyclaw cub chirped excitedly as it ran in circles around the human's boots. Captain Jace Morgan sat on a rock, sharpening a broken spear. He didn't smile much, but for the little creature, he made an exception. You're still here. Huh, he muttered. I guess we both survived something we weren't supposed to. Suddenly, the air trembled. A low humming sound filled the sky. Trees bent as if bowing. The ground rumbled beneath his feet. Then a massive shadow covered him. Jace looked up. A royal dropship hovered above the forest, sleek and dark, with glowing symbols that shimmered like fire. The Skyclaw cub darted behind his leg, squeaking in fear. Jace stood, wiping his hands on his pants. I guess the Queen's watching again. The ship landed. The metal hissed open. And out stepped the last person he expected. Queen Azekara. No guards, no weapons, just her. 8 feet of power. Cloaked in dark armor, a silver crest on her shoulder, her expression unreadable. Jace raised an eyebrow. "You missed me?" She looked at him for a long second. "You've survived 4 days." "Not bad for a fragile human," he said, grinning. "I came to see the truth for myself," she replied, stepping closer. The two stood in silence, staring at each other in the heart of the alien jungle. The trees whispered in the wind, and strange birds shrieked in the distance. "I didn't expect you to come here," Jace finally said. "And I didn't expect to care if you lived or died," she answered. Her words surprised even her. He tilted his head. "That sounded almost kind," she frowned. "Don't mistake curiosity for kindness, human," he smirked. "Too late." Azakara walked past him, observing his camp. Primitive. No real protection, and yet you've lived. He shrugged. "Adapt or die. That's the human way." She paused beside the fire. Her eyes landed on the small skyclaw cub, now hiding under a blanket made of stitched leaves. "You kept it alive." "It was weaker than me," Jay said simply. "I don't leave the weak behind." Azkara turned toward him, her voice quieter. "My kind ... would have crushed it underfoot." "I know," he replied. "That's why you don't understand humans." For the next hour, they sat by the fire. They didn't speak much, but something unspoken passed between them. He offered her a piece of cooked meat. She refused at first, but curiosity won. She tried it. Her eyes widened slightly. "Tastes better than our field rations," she admitted. Jace grinned. "I won't tell your army." Later, the skies began to darken. A cold wind howled through the trees. A storm was coming fast. Jace checked his supplies. "That's going to be bad. You should head back to your palace before you get soaked." "I'll stay," Jace blinked. "You'll what?" "I said I'll stay," she repeated, her voice calm but serious. "If you survive this storm, I want to see it." He hesitated. "You'll freeze. I barely keep warm myself." She looked around at the small camp and the woven moss blanket. "I've survived wars," she said. "A little cold won't kill." "Me." The storm hit harder than expected. Freezing rain crashed down like bullets. The wind screamed. Trees bent and cracked. The fire died within seconds. Inside the cave, Jace huddled close to the skyclaw cub. Azkara sat across from him, her breath fogging the air. She was shivering. Her armor was wet. Her arms crossed tight over her chest, but her pride held her still. Jace sighed. "Come here." She glared. "What? You're freezing." "Body heat. It's biology, not romance." She didn't move, but her body betrayed her shivering harder now. Her lips pale. "Fine," she muttered, crawling over. They sat side by side. He wrapped the moss blanket over both of them. His body heat slowly. Warmed the space between them. It was awkward, silent. Then she whispered, "No one has ever touched me like this." Not without fear. Jace looked at her, surprised. "I'm not afraid of you," he said softly. "I respect you, that's different." Azkara closed her eyes. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, warmth bloomed. At dawn, the storm was gone. Jace woke to find the queen still beside him, calm, quiet, not armored in words for once. When she opened her eyes, he smiled. "Still alive?" "Yes," she replied, "and less cold than I expected." She stood, stretched, and looked toward her ship. "I'll return now." "You've impressed me, more than I wanted to admit." She paused at the cave entrance. "If you survive the last 3 days," she said without turning, "I might start believing you meant everything you said." Then she vanished into the morning fog. Jace whispered, "You've already started." The sun didn't rise on the 6th day. Instead, a heavy silence pressed over Velkar 7. No birds, no wind. Not even the usual distant growls of wild beasts. Captain Jace Morgan felt at first a weight in the air, like the planet itself was holding its breath. The skyclaw cub whimpered beside him, crawling into his lap. Its fur stood on N.JACE looked up. Thick black clouds spun above the jungle. Not like a storm, worse. Electric veins flashed silently through the sky, and the ground trembled in slow, sick waves. The queen had warned him about this. If the sky turns black and the wind disappears, hide. But she never said why that the wind finally came, not as a breeze but as a wall. Trees snapped in half, rocks flew. The jungle screamed. Jace grabbed the Skyclaw and sprinted toward the cliffside cave, the same one where he and Queen Ascara had taken shelter before. Inside, he threw down the cub, sealed the entrance with vines and stones, and lit the small moss lantern. Then the shaking began. It felt like the planet was coughing, breathing, alive. Suddenly, a sound echoed outside like thunder, mixed with metal and growling. A titan beast. Jace froze. He had only seen them on the Queen's screens, giant blind creatures that hunted by vibration, awakened only once every few years. Their size was so massive they reshaped the jungle just by walking through it. He held his breath as the cave trembled. Then, another sound, footsteps, human-like, but heavier, closer. Jace reached for his blade, but paused. A shadow appeared at the cave's entrance. A familiar one. It stepped through, wet and shivering. Queen Ascara. She was drenched, her cloak torn, cuts across her arms. Her glowing eyes flicked toward him, tired and angry. You weren't supposed to be here, she snapped. Neither were you, he replied, getting up to help. I came to warn you, but you were gone. She stumbled slightly. Jace caught her arm. Her skin was cold. What happened out there? He asked. I ran into the Titan beast, she said quietly. It saw me. I had to run through the ravine for hours, no rest. She winced, grabbing her ribs. Jace helped her sit down. You're hurt, she nodded. I hate showing weakness. He pulled out the moss balm he made and gently applied it to her wounds. She didn't stop him. Hours passed. The storm outside didn't let up. But inside, a strange silence grew between them. Jace laid another layer of moss over her shoulders. You could have stayed in your palace, you know. I told you, she said, voice soft now. If you survived this day, I had to see it with my own eyes. And now? Ascara turned to him. Now I see why your people are feared. Not for power but for spirit. Jace sat beside her. They both listened to the wind roar beyond the cave walls. The Skyclaw curled beside them like a warm rock. You're not what I expected, she said suddenly. Jace looked at her. Neither are you. She stared at the fire for a long moment. Then she asked something unexpected. Do humans touch someone? Even when they have no duty to? Jace blinked. You mean affection? She nodded slowly. Yes, he said. When we care. Ascara didn't speak for a moment. Then in a whisper that sounded like it hurt her pride, she said, I haven't been touched in 100 years. Silence again. Then Jace moved slowly and placed his hand on hers. Her hand was larger, colder. But it didn't move away. Outside, lightning struck hard enough to shake the cave. But inside, two souls sat still. Later, as the cold deepened, Ascara began to shake. Jse, he removed his jacket and offered it. I don't need, she started. But he cut her off. I'm not offering. I'm insisting. She sighed and allowed it. But still, she shivered. He looked at her. There's one more way to share warmth. Her glowing eyes met his. He opened the moss blanket and silently invited her closer. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then slowly, she did. She lay beside him, letting his smaller body press against hers. She didn't speak. He didn't move. The Skyclaw cub curled beside them like a warm little guardian. The storm faded as dawn touched the horizon. When Ascara opened her eyes, Jace was already awake, watching the pale orange light return to the jungle. She sat up. You didn't take advantage, she said softly. I wouldn't, he replied. A pause. She stood, stretched her long body, and looked down at him. Tomorrow is your last day. Survive it, and I will decide. Decide what? He asked. She turned at the entrance, a small smile on her lips. Whether I laugh at you again, or keep you. Then she vanished into the jungle mist. The council chamber on the capital moon was carved from black crystal. Sharp and cold. 12 high lords of the Veltharn Empire sat in silence. No music, no servants, no distractions. Just a single image projected in the air. Queen Azkara, sleeping. Beside a human. The silence broke. He touched her. They shared warmth. She let him live. He is breeding stock now. The whispers turned into roars. Alien generals slammed their fists. Noble families hissed with disgust. She risks our bloodline for this mammal, one shouted. She has lost her mind, another growled. He must be eliminated tonight. On Velkar 7. Jace Morgan had no idea his name was now being cursed across 100 systems. He stood at the edge of a cliff, watching the alien sun rise over the strange Red Sea. His Skyclaw cub sat on his shoulder, chirping happily. Today was the 7th day, the final one. He had survived poison vines, razor beasts, lava storms, and now it felt almost peaceful, until he heard it. The ship. Not the Queen, sleek, silent, fast, elite hunters. The Queen stormed into the war chamber at her palace, eyes blazing. You sent assassins? She roared. A nervous noble bowed. Forgive us, my queen, but the bloodline. She struck the table with her fist. It cracked down the middle. I am the bloodline, she said coldly. And if any of you move against him again, I'll tear your lungs out. Back on the surface, Jace sensed something was wrong. The birds had gone quiet again. He crouched low, blaster in hand. Feels like we've got company, little guy. The Skyclaw growled low, then a shot. Jace ducked behind a rock just in time. A laser beam sizzled past his head. 3 alien assassins leapt from the trees, armored in dark scales, moving like shadows. They didn't say a word. They came to kill. Jace rolled, fired back, hit one in the leg. He used his traps, his mind, his terrain. One by one, he brought them down, bleeding, limping, but alive. Queen Azkara arrived just as the last body fell. She didn't speak. She stared at the corpses. Then at Jace, standing over them, covered in dirt and blood, but breathing. You were right, she said quietly. They fear you. Jace sat down slowly. Not just me, us. What we could become. She walked toward him and knelt beside him. Something no one in the Empire had ever seen a queen do. They fear change, she whispered. But I fear staying the same. Their eyes met. The space between them was no longer cold. That night, in the royal ship flying back through the stars, Azkara stood at the observation deck. Jace approached quietly. You didn't have to come for me, he said. I know, she replied. But I wanted to. He looked out the window. Stars floated like diamonds on velvet. Do you still think of me as just a joke? She turned to him. No, she said. Now, I think you might be my rebellion. In the darkness of space, messages flew across star systems. The Queen has chosen the human. They say she carries his seed. Prepare for war. The bloodline has been polluted. But the Queen didn't care, and neither did the human who stole her heart. By surviving what gods could not, the medical wing of the royal fortress had never been this quiet. Walls made of glowing blue stone hummed gently. Machines hovered and buzzed, scanning the air with invisible light, but all eyes were on one screen, and what it showed. No one believed, not the royal doctors, not the Queen, not even herself. A perfect glowing form floated in the image. Small, alive, growing. A hybrid. Part human, part Veltharn. Inside Queen Azkara, she sat in silence on the edge of the scanner bed. No armor. No crown. Just her face pale, her body stiff. Her sharp eyes wide with something rare-fear. Jace sat nearby, saying nothing. The royal medic finally spoke, voice shaking. "Your Majesty," we repeated the scan 6 times. "There's no error." She looked at him, eyes narrowed. "You're telling me a human made this possible?" "Yes," he whispered. "The child is strong, stable, perfectly formed." Jace broke the silence. "So, you're pregnant?" Azizura turned toward him slowly. "It would seem so." Jace gave a small smile. "I guess we skipped a few steps." She didn't laugh. "Not yet." In the halls outside, whispers spread like wildfire. "The queen is carrying a human's child. It's not possible. It's forbidden. It's a miracle." Half the palace celebrated in secret. The other half prepared to destroy what had just begun. That evening, Azara stood on the royal balcony alone, hands resting lightly on her stomach. Jace approached her quietly. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't turn. "I've led armies into fire, faced beasts that ate entire cities, but this..." She paused, voice low. This terrifies me." Jace stepped beside her. "Because it wasn't supposed to happen?" "No," she said. "Because now I care if something happens to it." Far away, the High Council received the report. The Supreme Warlord's eyes went wide. "A hybrid heir? No, the throne cannot pass to a half-blood." Another general stood. "We must take the queen into custody, control the bloodline." "Send the elite squads," another ordered. "Bring her back, kill the human." Back in the palace, Jace sat beside Azgara in her private chamber. "You don't have to keep it," he said gently. She looked at him sharply. "Don't insult me." He raised his hands. "Just saying. I know the pressure." She stood and walked toward him. "I've crushed rebellions," she said. "But this child is not weakness. It's proof." "Proof of what?" "That we are evolving." Suddenly alarm lights flashed red. Sirens screamed. Guards ran through the halls. A royal soldier burst into the chamber. "Your Majesty, enemy forces approaching the gates." Elite units marked with council banners. Jace jumped up. "There. Here for the baby." Azgara's face turned to stone. "Let them try." In the royal vaults beneath the palace, she opened an ancient chamber. Inside lay a suit of armor, one she hadn't worn in decades. The queen's war armor. She strapped it on, her silver crown glowing, her eyes burning. "I will defend this child," she said, voice cold and fire-filled. "Even if I must burn my empire to do it." Jace stood beside her, checking his gear. "Then you won't burn it alone." The royal banners burned in the wind. The palace courtyard was filled with smoke, broken stone, and silence. The enemy had arrived. Over 100 elite soldiers cloaked in black armor, bearing the council's mark, stood before the shattered front gate. Their weapons were raised, their orders clear. "Take the queen, kill the human, end the hybrid." But Queen Azgara stood tall in front of them, glowing in her ancient battle armor. Her silver eyes blazed like twin stars. At her side, not behind her, stood Jace, Morgan-scarred, bleeding, unshaken. He held a human rifle. She held a war spear, and inside her, the child of two worlds. A deep voice echoed from the enemy ranks. "You have one chance, Your Majesty. Surrender the creature growing in your womb." Azgara stepped forward. "You mean my heir?" "It's impure," the voice growled. "A stain on the throne." She raised her spear. "Then let me show you what a stain can do." And she charged. The courtyard exploded into battle. Sparks flew. Metal clashed. Blades sang through the air. Azgara moved like a goddess of war, leaping, striking, defending. Jace fought beside her, using his traps, his speed, his human instincts. He was smaller, slower, but smarter. Together, they were chaos. Together, They were unstoppable. The battle lasted minutes, maybe hours. Time broke apart. Under the violence. And when the smoke cleared, the queen still stood. One by one, the council soldiers dropped their weapons and backed away. Fear had reached their bones. The future had already begun, and they could not stop it. Later, in the great hall, damaged, scorched, but still standing queen Ascara stood before her people. Her armor cracked, her voice strong. "I chose a human," she declared. "And he chose me not out of fear, but out of love." She placed her hand on her stomach. "This child will not be the end of our empire. It will be the rebirth of it." Many bowed, some cheered. A few still resisted. But no one dared speak, not after what they had seen. In the quiet night, Jay stood alone on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. He didn't feel like a hero, just a man who followed his heart. He heard footsteps behind him. Ascara stood there, now in a royal robe instead of armor. Her hair was loose, her face softer. She joined him. "I thought today would be my last," he said softly. "It was your beginning," she replied. They stood in silence for a moment. Then she asked, "If I made you my consort, my king, would you accept it?" He looked at her. "Are you asking me to marry you?" "I'm offering you the universe," he smiled. "Only if I get to raise the baby too." She smiled, truly smiled for the first time. "Then it's done," she said. Across the stars, news spread. "The queen has chosen a human. The child grows strong. A new bloodline begins." Some called it madness. Others called it hope. But on Velkar 7, one thing was clear. The queen had made her choice, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again.